You may be asking yourself, how is there magic in a virtual reality game? In this video, we explain. The magic of E-Scape is in truth manipulation of the two critical aspects that make E-Scape run. The power to make everything operate and process in a timely manner, and the data that feeds all the information of what to display, what to feel, etc. It's these two aspects that make E-Scape what it is. And it's also why ghosts have learned to be able to identify them. No longer convinced by the illusion of reality that normal fresh copies exhibit, they understand 100% of the time that they are in a virtual world. And by virtue of this, they pick up things that freshes don't. In game terms, the ability of a character to manipulate the power or data of E-Scape is based on two stats of surge and tide. Surge is the measure of how well a character can manipulate E-Scape's power. Tide is the ability of that character to manipulate its data flows through the system. Every character begins higher in one than the other, so it's up to the player to decide what side they'd like to manipulate better. Players can declare which effect they want to cast. There are a grand total of 36 effects available in the game, 18 for Surge and 18 for Tide. No player has access to all 18. They have a small subset available to them at the time, some of which are mastered, others are not. You begin the game with mastery in 3 of these effects. Of those 3, you can cast them whenever you want. During the course of the game, you can also learn by watching others cast in your presence, and eventually you too can cast them on your own. You won't have mastery of them unless you happen to roll 6 natural successes when trying to cast it, at which point you have mastery in it from that point forward. To help explain more, we have here an example of an effect from the game. Feel free to pause and read through it on your own, but I'll go ahead and give the highlights. This particular power is called Shift. It is a surge effect that enables you to open a temporary or permanent window or portal between a boundary of 2 sites, or a partition and a site, or more commonly, a subscape and its abutting site or partition. The table that is included on here lists the minimum SN, or success number, required to get that particular effect from this casting. The higher the SN, the more powerful the effect. In addition to the SN table listed, you have other factors that could increase your desired SN based on whether you want to hit more targets, greater range, longer duration, whatever it might be. Every power has its own addendum on here. This one is the plus SN for creating fobs if you happen to create a permanent portal, so only certain people can pass through that shifted boundary. Once you declare what kind of effect you want to cast, you then create your dice pool, which is the system plus core as explained before. You determine your target number, which starts at TN3 and can go up for each of the following that is true. If you have the skill applicable to it, it goes up by 1. If you have mastery of the effect, it goes up plus 1. So if you happen to have both the mastery and skill, you have a TN of 5. This is the only way in the game that you can have a TN of 5. Otherwise, the cap is at 4. Just as with regular tests, if you happen to get the skill or mastery to apply, any rolls of 1 that you get count as 2 successes instead of 1. You then roll, count your successes, and determine the effect from there. So if we're going to use our shift as an example, here we have the table of the SNs required for each of the levels. Let's say you do your roll and you happen to get 3 successes. The SN of 3 here indicates that you can create a temporary portal between sides. If this is what you need, you don't need to do anything else. You go ahead and cast it and you move forward. If all you wanted was a temporary window, you had no intention of passing through, you can instead use your 3 successes to cast the SN of 2 and leave it at that. The extra successes just dissipate. There's no penalty for it. You just didn't use it. If, however, you were looking for a SN of 4, you've fallen short. You do have the option to push the roll to gain another success and suffer 1 degradation point in the process. So these tests can be pushed as well as any other tests in the game. Let's say, though, that instead of just creating a permanent one-way window to what you wanted to do with the SN of 4, you also wanted to have key fobs available, so only those people who you give the fobs to are able to use it. This would make the SN of 5 instead of 4. So if you roll 3, pushing once isn't quite enough. You may need to push again if your push roll allows you to. You could also have other effects like bit flips come into play to get you over the hump. Casting effects does not come free. It does put a tax on the ghost who's trying to cast it, and the cost of that tax is dependent on whether or not they have mastery of the effect. If they do have mastery, any cast attempt does cost 1 degradation point. If they don't have mastery of it, it costs 3 degradation points to cast it instead. The good news is that if you do happen to fail to meet the minimum number of successes for the lowest level on the table of that particular effect, no DP are suffered. You just didn't successfully tap into the surge or tide of the system. And as mentioned before, you can always push any effect test that you perform. The push itself costs extra degradation points on top of whatever you suffer from casting the effect in the first place. And that's it. That covers everything you need to know on how to actually cast effects in E-Scape. Hopefully you enjoyed learning a bit more about the magic aspect of the game. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, especially if you want to catch up on more of our upcoming videos explaining the world and the game of E-Scape. We have a back catalog as well, so go ahead and tap on the links above to see those videos. And until then, have a good one.